Hi friends, I'm Amy and this is A-Star Reads, and it is time for my February TBR. A little late. And part of the problem is that January has been a bit of a strange month. I've had a really hard time getting myself to, well, towards the end of the month, getting myself to read or edit. Like I was doing well reading for halfway through January, and I actually was really successful with this project that I'm working on, but once the presidential inauguration happened, I fell into a hole. I fell into a hole where I've been focusing a lot on news, and when I'm not focusing on that, I'm focusing on stuff that is so non-thinking because I'm trying to, understand what's going on in my country, but then also take a break and do some self-care. So I've been rewatching New Girl. Mom and I have been watching a really old season of Project Runway, and reading and editing especially have taken a really big backseat. So I'm hoping that coming into February, feeling a little bit fresh and new, getting some of the books that I'm working on that I'm really enjoying completed, I will be able to do better with my reading next month. So let me tell you first how I did with my reading from January for my TBR. I'm not taking any punishments. I'm not punishing myself. I'm going to continue to try and read these books. I'm rolling stuff over, and I'm going to try and prioritize these right now because I want to be able to get them finished before I really start my February books. Also, February is my birthday month. My birthday's towards the end of the month, and I'd like to really read books that I'm enjoying, and I am enjoying the books I'm currently reading. I'm gonna just take it easy on myself because this year is turning out to be a very different year. So we shall see how things go. This, I guess, is sort of an update as well. I do want to complete my 12 Days of Christmas Carol Advent Calendar Challenge videos, my vlogs, but every time I pull up my editing system to edit them, I walk away from my computer because I just have not felt like editing in the last couple of weeks. It's been a real struggle. So fingers crossed that in this next week, I will be rejuvenated. I'm gonna be starting proctoring for testing for the whole month of February. For most of the days of February, I'll be doing proctoring, which actually is a lot less strenuous when it comes to the work that I do. And so I'm hoping that will give me a little more energy, so I'll be reinvigorated to want to read more and to spend more time editing because yeah, it's just been a struggle the last couple of weeks. And I'm sure a lot of people here in the US can understand. It's just a very complicated time right now, and just trying to make our way through it. Okay, so the very first book I picked for last month was for my career, which was to become a travel agent. And for that, I picked The Care and Management of Lies by Jacqueline Winspear because I've traveled to England and it is a very favorite travel destination. So this one I actually completed, and it worked for Buzzwordathon for the word lies in the title. And I also think it worked for the pattern because this has a pattern on it. There's also a pattern up at the top. So, and there's patterns here on the side. There's also a pattern here. Like, there's a lot of patterns on this. So I think this works for the word in the title and the cover challenge for Buzzwordathon. So this was quite a success in reading this book. Then for gifted book, I was gifted Foundryside by my friend Leanna. And this is one where I've been really enjoying it. I've made it 30% of the way through. I just haven't been able to pick it up the last couple of weeks. And it has nothing to do with the book because I've really been enjoying this. I've been enjoying the conversation in Bookstar read-alongs that we're having within the chapter channels. I do need to make sure I finish this because this is for Bookstar read-alongs. So I'm gonna really try and get on this today and make sure I get it done soon because we haven't determined when our live show is. We're having a little bit of a conflict of schedules, but I'm really hoping it won't be too far in the future so we can actually talk about this book. And I need to be able to finish it for us to be able to talk about it. And I am doing a review vlog for this because it is one of my 45 before 45 books. And then for love, romance, or permanent relationship, I picked Blackbird Oracle by Deborah Harkness. And this is probably the only one that I'm right now actively working on because I'm listening to this on audiobook. I'm not quite yet to the place I had gotten to before. I'm 59% of the way through, so I'm about 60% of the way through, and I'm loving the audiobook of this. So I'm really glad that I picked up the audiobook because I was like, hey, I've already read most of this physically before. Why not just listen to the audiobook to get me re-caught up with it while I physically read some of these other books? And that's been a great choice because then I listen to this to and from work, and I have had the time and had the energy to listen to this. And because it's partially a reread, I am just enjoying the audiobook a lot and enjoying revisiting what I had read before with this. Then for oldest book on my TBR, I got Stardock by SLVL, and I have not picked this up yet. I'm still saving this as like a quick read one of these days when I just need something fun and easy to read, but I just haven't been reading it all. So that's part of the problem, but I still plan on reading this soon. So I'm not gonna put this back on my shelves right now. I'm gonna carry this over into the next month. And finally, the lowest rated book on my TBR, and one that I am currently vlogging as well, is 19 Claws and a Blackbird by Agustina Bastarrica. I have read, let's see, 6 out of the 20 stories within this, and I don't want to give any spoilers to that vlog or anything, but you might be able to see up there. I'm having a good time with this. I'm having a really good time with this. I just haven't been able to pick it up in these last 2 weeks that I have not been reading physically that much, and it has nothing to do with the book. It has everything to do with my interest in reading at the moment. But I've been having a good time with this, and I really do think this author is unique, but has a voice that I'm interested in. So I can't wait to continue on. When I was actively reading this, I was reading 2 stories a day, and that was actually very successful for me. So I think I'm gonna continue on and then reading each individual story within this collection so that I can come up with a final average rating and compare it to the actual rating that I found over on Goodreads. As you can see, I didn't complete my TBR for January, but I'm actively working on most of the books, and by the time I finish them, I will have 4 out of the 5 books read, and I really do want to read this at some point, so I'm not putting it back. I'm gonna read this, so we'll get all 5 of those books read soon. Okay, so before I get into the February spins for the Game of a Bookish Life, I want to talk to you about the viewer prompt, because this is definitely going to affect how the gameplay goes in the month of February. And I was so impressed with how many people not only wanted to participate and were excited about the viewer prompt, but came back and gave me the information of, you know, whether or not you finished the book, how far you got, if you DNF'd it, and then told me what you thought about it. Like, was your rating different than the rating that was on Goodreads or wherever you found your rating, the average rating? I think I responded to or commented or liked most of the comments. I absolutely read all of them. So it was really fun to hear your thoughts and comments about these books and where they were more successful than the average rating and those places where the average rating was warranted. I just said it was funny to see people's experiences. And so if you responded to me by the 25th and you let me know that you made progress, you DNF'd, finished your book and told me what you thought, then I put you on this wonderful spinner wheel. And don't forget that next month the deadline is the 25th. End of day 25th, no matter what time zone you're in. I then go look on the 26th and update everything that morning because that's when I'm filming. I'm trying to film on the 26th. Granted, this video is not coming out till later, but I filmed my spins then. I really did. So I took into account everything at the time. The other thing I need to change is that with 29 people finishing the viewer prompt, completing it, I am still going to put all those people on the spinner wheel, and you are still going to all have the opportunity to win a book in the 3rd quarter. However, 29 spaces on the board was a bit ridiculous for me. It was just a bit ridiculous. So I'm putting a max of 10 spaces. I'm allowed to move a maximum of 10 spaces on the board. So no matter how many people submit a comment about completing the viewer prompt, I'm only gonna move forward 10 spaces. Now, if only 8 people submit comments about viewer prompts, I'm only gonna move forward 8 spaces. But I think 10 is a reasonable amount, and I still will move through the board very quickly, but it's not gonna be like I'll be done next month. It just seemed a little ridiculous when I was actually sitting down to try and play the game to move 29 spaces before anything else happened. So I think a max of 10 spaces is very generous as far as movement goes, but it also makes it so that, you know, there's a little bit of a challenge. And so I hope this change is all right. It's not going to actually affect who is qualifying to be part of the drawing, so don't worry about that. If you submitted your confirmation that you finished the book by the 25th, then you are part of the drawing. Also, I was thinking it might be fun to use those first 10 jumps to help me pick my first book. So what I mean by that is I'm going to jump 10 spaces, and whichever space I land on will be my first book. So that means I'm only going to have 3 spins each month. The first book is determined by those extra 10 or however many moves I make, and then I'll do 3 spins. Of course, if I land on something that makes me have to add more spins, I will add extra spins. But my goal, like I said in January, was to have 4 books on this TBR unless I have to add more. And so the way that I'm changing that is that my very first spin is actually the prompt I land on after moving forward 10 spaces, or however many spaces I earn thanks to your help. I hope that makes sense. I just think that it would be fun because then it would make those 10 moves have some meaning at the end of it. Like the very final space I move, I have to include a book with that prompt on my TBR. So let's go on over and see what's gonna happen in the month of February.
Okay, so our last prompt last time was the lowest rated book on my TBR and your TBR. And because I had such an overwhelming amount of help this month, I get to move forward the max of 10 spaces, as I already mentioned. So let's start that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I do always have to stop at stop signs. So this is actually going to be an extra book that I'm going to add. So I'll be playing a TBR game from another booktuber, and that's going to be a +1 book. Okay, so I'm starting on space 20.
Okay, so I actually did use a random number generator to help me figure out where I would start on the board, but I accidentally deleted it somewhere along the way. So I counted up the number of spaces that are on this board, and there were 40. And then I randomly generated from 1 to 40, and that's how I got 20. So just so you know, that's not just some arbitrary number that I decided on.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Right here. Starting right there with my little eagle. Okay, I've got my 2 dice, and let's see how far I'm gonna go with my spin. Roll, whatever it is. Okay, you didn't see this, but it is a 4. So I'm going 9 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. A pole pick. Huh. Okay. Interesting. Excited about that? Maybe. It'll be fun. I'm going to do a pole pick over on my Instagram.
Okay, so yeah. Anytime I land on a stop sign, this has always been true, I have to read a book for that stop sign. Doesn't matter if I'm moving forward 10 spaces. Stop signs make me stop. So I am going to be adding a book to this particular month because I have to have a prompt for this. And so I landed on TBR Game. I decided to go with Spookoplathon by Becca and the Books because it was the most accessible game I could find right now. All my other games are packed away somewhere. We cleaned up everything for Christmas and I can't find anything. I ended up on Pole Pick, as you saw, and I wanted to do something different because I didn't really have 3 books in my mind at the moment that I wanted people to vote on. And so what I thought I would do instead was make my poll pick about 3 challenges that I'm currently working on. 1 being the hardest reading challenge you'll ever do. And of course, that one I'm very actively working on, trying to get things completed for. 2 is my 45 before 45, which since I'll be turning 42 at the end of February, I need to get on that. And 3 is series continuations. I would always like to continue on with series. As you saw at the beginning of the year, I have a lot of series to work on. And so I put those 3 challenges in a poll and I put it up on Instagram. And as you'll see, y'all didn't help me out with HRCYED, which was what I was hoping for. I was really hoping for HRCYED, but nope. We went with 45 before 45, and that's okay because I do need to continue on with this challenge as well. So I fooled you all on Instagram anyways, because the book that I'm actually picking for this works for both my 45 before 45 and it works for HRCYED. So I made them both work for this. And I chose My Sister the Serial Killer by Oyinkan Braithwaite. This is set in Nigeria. Our author is Nigerian. And this will work for reading books outside of my country. That's one of the goals for HRCYED. And it also works for 45 before 45 because this is one of the thriller books that I had chosen to add to my list of 45 books I want to read before turning 45. And I have heard really mixed reviews about this, but I do really think this is one I'm gonna love. I've heard the ending of this is a lot more disappointing than people would hoped for, but I also heard the same thing about Tender as the Flesh, and I love that one. So this is about a woman, and I don't know how to pronounce her name correctly, Korede, Korede. I don't know how to pronounce it. I will figure out how to pronounce it by the time I actually start reading this. But her sister Ayula is a serial killer, or appears to be a serial killer, and she has stabbed her 3rd boyfriend. And Korede, or Korede, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. However I end up pronouncing her name, she helps her sister out of these situations because she loves her sister and she's very practical minded and she wants to keep her family safe. And of course, I'm sure that is very problematic because she's aiding and abetting her sister. So I'm looking forward to finding out what actually happens in this one. It's not a very long book, but I've been intrigued by this one for a very long time. That's why I put it on my 45 before 45, because it's one of those ones where, despite the fact that I haven't ever picked it up since I heard about it and I was most excited to read it, it still intrigues me. It still feels like one of those books that I will ultimately love, and I want to find out if that's true.
Okay, so that was 7, 8, 9, 10. A book card. Ooh, cool. Okay. So my second book is going to be a book based off a book card. Let me grab those. Okay. All right. Quick up pick. Oh, interesting. Okay. So this is going to be tricky because I'm changing the way I'm doing this. So I'll talk to you about this in 1 second.
Okay, so this is my 14th shelf, and I've got, I don't want these big books, but let's see. Hold on. I'm going to start counting here. 26. And if it's part of a series, I'm going to go with the first book in the series or whatever I'm on if I'm in the next book in the series. This is just ridiculous. I can guarantee it's probably not going to get read. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No way. No way. That. No way. I don't know if this is even like the first in the series or what. But I'm going to have to find out. No. No. This is probably not going to happen. Oh my gosh, it's even worse than this because this is the first one. No. No. This is stupid. What a mess. Such a mess. Okay. I was not excited about this. So first let me tell you about the book cards, because I have not updated my book cards since last year, but I did decide that I was doing away with my Koi cup and my challenge cup. If you remember, it's this was my challenge cup. It had all the books that I own physically, but I knew would be challenging reads. And my Koi cup was this. There's nothing in it anymore. And with my Lucky Koi cup, it was all the books that I was most excited to read or would be quick, easy reads that were on my physical shelf. So I emptied these out because I had not updated it in a long time. I have many new books, and I just kind of decided I want to go a different direction. So anywhere on my board that it's a green space and it says Koi or Challenge, I'm actually changing it, as well as these two book cards, to be a random physical TBR book or a random general TBR book, because I have over 1,800 books listed as books I want to read on Goodreads, and I won't ever get to a lot of them unless I force myself to. And I should go through and clean it out. I have done some cleaning out, believe it or not, but I thought this would be an interesting way to force myself to read some of the books that maybe I haven't even heard of in a very long time. So if I get the random general TBR card, or when I land on those green spaces I have to pick from my general TBR, I'll go through those 1,800 books and randomly pick one. Otherwise, with the random physical TBR, I'm just picking books off my shelves. And the way I decided to randomly do that was to randomize the actual shelves. I had 14 shelves to choose from, and then randomize the number of books on that shelf. And I ended up with this chunker that I got from my cousin because he gave us a whole bunch of his Stephen King books, and Jordan and I were fighting over them. Why did we do that at this point? I don't know. But this is by Stephen King and Peter Straub. I have heard of the Talisman. I've heard that a lot of people really enjoy this one. I just wasn't looking forward to this. And I do like Stephen King's writing. So I'm like, yeah, it'd be fun to get to it. When I was figuring this out, I was definitely like, oh no, that's not gonna happen. Like, even if I pull it, it's not gonna happen. But I started thinking to myself, I'm going to continue reading the Blackbird Oracle through my audiobook, and I'm over 50% of the way through that one. And then once I'm done with that, I will be able to pick up another audiobook. And I have read Stephen King books as audiobooks in the past and really enjoyed them. So even though I own this one physically, I wouldn't mind listening to this giant book as an audiobook instead, and it would help me get through it when I don't want to spend time reading this with my eyes in the month of February, because I have so many other things I would rather be reading at the time. So I think that's my best bet, is to actually listen to this on audiobook. From the sounds of it, this is about a young boy, a 12-year-old boy, whose mother is dying for whatever reason. Maybe it's cancer, maybe it's something. I have no clue why she is dying. Jack, her son, thinks that he can save her because he is tasked at searching for a prize across an epic landscape of dangers and lies. And considering this is called The Talisman, I'm wondering if he is searching for something that he believes will help save his mother. I have no clue, and this synopsis on the back doesn't give me very much information, so I will find out more information while I'm actually reading the book.
All right, it's time for my third book. The first time I'm actually spinning. Let's see where I'm going to go. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so when I'm at a crossroads like this, I have to spin the spinner wheel. If I get 1 through 5, then I'll be going to the left, which is this way. If I get a 6 through 10, I'll be going to the right, this way. To the right. Okay, so that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And that is a genre spinner wheel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spin the wheel again. And whatever color it lands on will determine what genre I read from. Genre or type of book. Okay, that is a light blue, which is a romance. Ooh, that's fun. Okay, I'll take it.
So for my first actual spin, I was very happy with the results. I got genre spinner wheel, and for this one I spun the wheel and it gave me a romance, which was perfect because I didn't get a lot of freedom with the last book that I had to choose. And so this time I could kind of go along with what I'm trying to accomplish. And one of the things I'm trying to accomplish is the lowest rated books challenge for the HRCYED, for the hardest reading challenge you'll ever do. And one of the books that I have to read for that challenge is a romance, and that is Sex and Vanity by Kwan. This was quite low rated, and I loved Kwan's Crazy Rich Asians series. I feel like he is a modern day Jane Austen in my eyes, at least having read that series. And so I'm curious to see how things shifted from that series to this one and what exactly went wrong, or did it not go wrong and I really enjoy this one? I have no clue. This doesn't sound too far off from the kind of scenarios that Kwan likes to write, as in like Crazy Rich Asian series. So our main character, Lucy, she is mixed. Her mother is American-born Chinese, and her father is this very wealthy, blue-blooded New Yorker. She meets this guy named Charlie Zhao in Capri for a wedding, and she absolutely hates him. And I don't know what exactly is going to happen between the two of them, but it is a romance between them. So somehow they overcome that. But it'll be interesting because I know that Kwan likes to talk about the dynamics within different cultures, especially when it comes to romance, and how the differing families and communities view these relationships, especially when it comes to positions of power, and families and communities have very specific opinions as to who they believe their children or family members should actually marry or bring into their lives. And I really enjoyed that dynamic and that conversation within the Crazy Rich Asian series. So I'm hoping that it gives me that, and I'm hoping that I enjoy it more than other people did. Maybe it's too similar to that, and maybe that's why people didn't like it. I have no clue, but I will find out, and this will work for HRCYED.
Let's see what I'm going to get for my fourth book. Second time spinning the wheel. I'm only going to be spinning the wheel 3 times this time, as I mentioned earlier. 3, not too far. 1, 2, 3. Ah, what are they reading? This, I haven't done in a long time, and I haven't updated my cup. But we're just going to see what we get. Here is my cup full of different booktubers. I haven't updated this in a very, very long time, so there may be booktubers in here that aren't active anymore. So we're going to see what we get. And, you know, if there's somebody who's not active anymore, I might just pick another one. Okay. Put this down here. And go from the middle right there. Who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? Rachel Cerys. Okay, so she is still active. In fact, she's been putting out a lot of videos recently. I will check out which book of hers that she has absolutely loved. It's got to be like a 5-star book that she has read that I want to read as well.
All right, so for my fourth book, I ended up getting a prompt that I really wanted more in the last couple of years. And this year, it's not that I don't want it. It's just that I haven't updated my cup, my what are they reading cup. So what are they reading means that I pick a booktuber randomly from this cup and hope this year that they're a booktuber that's still active. And I got lucky, and Rachel Cerys is still active. And this is a booktuber who I enjoy for the love she has of Disney. I don't actually feel that we have a ton of books in common reading-wise. So it was interesting that I need to read from her, because when I watch her videos, the books that she reads aren't necessarily books that I'm not interested in. They're just not the books that I tend to read the most of. And so I was like, okay, what am I gonna get? And I could have made it more random and chosen something that I feel would be more indicative of her taste, but I have challenges this year. I have things I need to accomplish. So I did it a little more in my favor. I did go back and I watched parts of her favorite videos of each year. And the year that I stopped at was her 2021 video, because well, here, I'll show you.
In at number 9 is Loveless by Alice Oseman, a YA that I wasn't expecting to love. I sound like a broken record. I gave this book a 4.5 stars, and I absolutely adore the friendships in this book, which is why it got such a high rating for me. And I think it was just the fact that I was just so surprised by this book. I just wasn't expecting to like it.
And I mentioned in my recent HRCYED update video that this was the book that I was thinking I should probably read for the asexual representation, because I have heard really good things about this, and I've only read Alice Oseman's Heartstopper series, which I really loved, and I loved how this author portrayed the different characters. And this is a really well-loved book. Not only Rachel Cerys loves this, but I know other people who have loved Loveless. And so I'm looking forward to trying this out, trying more of Alice Oseman's work out, and to hopefully get a little more insight, a little more perspective on asexuality, because I have heard that this is pretty good representation. So this is about a character, Georgia, who is seeing so much of this conversation around sex and dating and kissing and all these things happening around her, and she's trying to understand why she has been struggling herself, why she doesn't feel the same feelings that other people do, why she doesn't have the same desires that other people do. And once she gets into college, she understands more about the LGBTQIA+ community and what that means for her. And she finally gets a better perspective on herself. And I'm hoping that she finds a great community that she can identify with, and where she can start feeling like herself and being happy with who she is and not stressing so much about what other people around her are doing. So that's what I'm expecting from this, and I'm hoping that it delivers. And it is chunkier than I expected it to be. I kind of thought this was a smaller book, but I can't wait to get into this, and I think this will be a great book for the month of February as well.
Okay, and our final spin, the 5th book for me and your viewer prompt is gonna be what? Let's find out. That was a small spin. It's okay, it still works. 1, 2, 3. A bookish book. Your prompt is that you need to find a bookish book, and that's mine too.
And then for my 5th and final book, I landed on a bookish book, which is also the viewer prompt. So you need to pick a bookish book, a book that has a library in it, or talks about books, or has a librarian as the main character, something bookish about the book that you choose. And let me know in the comment section down below, once you've completed the book, what you thought about it, and was it as bookish as you'd hoped for? Do you like bookish books? Give me some information about the bookish aspect of it, so that I know that you had a chance to read it, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on the bookish element of it, because a lot of people love bookish books, and it's interesting to hear why, because, you know, it's just a book about a topic that we all love, books, but sometimes bookish books don't end up being as bookish as you think they are, just like Christmas books don't end up always being as Christmassy as you think they're going to be. So I'd love to hear some of your comments on that topic, and whether you'd recommend it to other people, because it'll be a great place in the comment section down below for people to get recommendations about books that are bookish, because we do all seem to love them. So for my choice, you'll see that I have a bit of a theme here. I'm really working hard on trying to get these HRCYED prompts completed, and this also works for a series continuation. So I chose The Labyrinth of Spirits by Carlos Ruiz Zafon. This is the 2nd book in the Shadow of the Wind series, and this is huge. This is going to be a real undertaking, but The Shadow of the Wind is one of my favorite books, and I continue to say that it's one of my favorite books. So I'm hoping that that love will continue, and I think that would be a great way for me to spend my birthday, you know, reading a book or continuing a series from a book that I absolutely loved. And I'm hoping that this will be just as satisfying as Shadow of the Wind was. This works for set in a different country because it is set in Barcelona, Spain, and I'm actually going to Barcelona in the summer with my friends, so I'm excited about that. This will get me very excited about going to Barcelona. And the author, of course, is Spanish, Carlos Ruiz Zafon. So this is going to work really well for books set in another country that is not, you know, the US, Canada, or the UK. It also works for the name challenge because Zafon starts with a Z and my last name has a Z in it. So this is doing double duty for HRCYED. So the original book, The Shadow of the Wind, is about this book that is rare, and this young boy loves the book. He finds out about this book. He's trying to protect this book, and he finds out there's a mystery surrounding the book, that someone is burning all the copies of this book. And he's trying his hardest to figure out, one, who's doing this, and two, to keep these stories safe. We go through this journey and we learn more about this boy, and we learn more about his life, and we have so many great characters, amazing, interesting characters. And it's a wonderful story about books. So I'm curious to see how much that first book is actually brought into this. It sounds like it's a new character we're following, this woman named Alicia, and she's trying to solve a mystery surrounding a missing person, but it has to do with a missing book. But she does come in contact with the Sempre family and Fermin, one of the most fun characters from the first book, and she's utilizing their information and to help her solve this mystery. And so I really hope that I'm gonna love this one as much as I loved the first one and get those bookish vibes that I'm looking for when I think about a bookish book. Okay, so these are the 5 books that the Game of Bookish Life chose for me, and it's a really hefty stack. This is a really hefty stack, but this one I'm planning on listening to as an audiobook, and this one was chosen for me by the book card because I had to pick a random book from my physical TBR, and that's The Talisman by Stephen King and Peter Straub. Then here we have My Sister the Serial Killer by Oyinkan Braithwaite, and this was because I played the TBR game Spookoplathon, and I had to get a poll pick, and I did a poll pick, and you all chose 45 before 45 as the challenge I was to complete, and so this is one of the books on my 45 before 45 list. Then when I landed on genre spinner wheel, I got a romance book, and I'm choosing Sex and Vanity by Kevin Kwan. Then, as I just mentioned, I'll be reading The Labyrinth of the Spirits by Carlos Ruiz Zafon for a bookish book, which is also the viewer prompt. Make sure you let me know in the comment section what bookish book you want to read, you're curious about reading, and also come back by the 25th to let me know if you've completed it, and also to tell me what you think about the bookish element of this, and if you'd recommend it to other people. And then finally, I'm going to read like Rachel Cerys by reading Loveless by Oseman because she really did love this book, and I can't wait to read it for the asexual representation. Now that's my stack, and it's huge, but that's not quite all, because in the beginning of the month, I have to read Water Moon by Samantha, Sotto, Yambao, and this is my new release for HRCYED. I need to get it done by the 16th of February, I think, but I also am reading this for Buzzwordathon, because for Buzzwordathon in February, the title prompt is water words, and this actually has Water Moon in the title, and the cover prompt is a city skyline. So if I flip this over, you'll see that the reflection is of a city skyline. So that works really well for both of those prompts, and it's nice that I can get Buzzwordathon done with one book. So this one will be the very first book I pick up. Well, I'm still trying to finish off books from last month, but this will be the next book I pick up, and hopefully I have to get it done before the 16th of February, so I'm gonna be working on this actively. I completely forgot to tell you what this book is actually about, and I'm just gonna read one little short paragraph from the synopsis because I think it sums things up really, really well. A woman inherits a pawn shop where you can sell your regrets, and then embarks on a magical journey when a charming young physicist wanders into the shop in this dreamlike and enchanting fantasy novel. So that's what this is all about, and this is a very beautiful, beautiful book. I just love everything about it, and you can turn the cover into a boat, like one of these little boats down here. So it's a very interesting, unique, stunning book. So that's a lot for me to read, but it's gonna keep me busy in the month of February, and I'm hoping that it's a really good reading month and I pick up a little bit of momentum, I get some editing done. Fingers crossed for me, so let's just hope for my reading success because I have a lot of fun plans. I just need to be able to stick with them. Let me know in the comment section down below if you've read any of these books, and if you have, what you thought about them. I'd love to get an idea of what I'm getting myself into this month. And also, I forgot to mention, I will be linking Rachel Cerys' channel down below. Go check out some of her favorites. Go check out her content. Like I said, she has a lot of fun ideas, and I love her Disney content because I'm a Disney fan. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up and subscribe so you can see what happens in the month of February. Will I catch up by finishing all the books that I started? Will I actually get to any of the books on this particular TBR? Thank you so much for watching. I will see you later.